29th, 2025. It's 5:15 p.m. This is the City of LaPorte Redevelopment Commission meeting. Please, I'm calling it to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Roll call. I myself, Brian Chellick, is present. J.T. McDermott is present. Betsy Parkinson's present. Deanna Francesconi is present. The one is missing is Damon Gassaway. So we're good. We have a quorum. Public comment. Public comment is open. Anybody have anything to say to us? I don't see anybody really standing up. Public comment is closed. Approval of August 27, 2025 meeting minutes. Everybody had a chance to look at those, decipher them?
I'll make a motion for the approval of the August 27th, 2025 meeting minutes.
Have a second?
I'll second.
Motion in a second. Yeah, it should be September, I don't know. Oh, yeah. I want to go back. Oh, wait a minute, we have to go back. Start again. Damon just showed up.
Hello. Sorry.
So let's go back to roll call. I myself, Brian Chellick, is here. Damon Gassaway's here. Jenna Francesconi's here. Betsy Parkinson's here. J.T. McDermott's here. We're all here. Full complement. Public comment, we have none. Approval of September 27th.
24th.
September 24th. You know, actually, when I was reading that, I thought something was wrong. Meeting minutes. Has everybody had a chance to look at those?
Yes. I'll make a motion for the approval of the September 24th, 2025 meeting minutes.
Do I have a second?
I will second.
Motion and second. Further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, state by saying aye.
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 Opposed? The minutes have been approved. Claims. Everybody had a chance to look at that little thing there. Not much there. Any questions, deletions, additions?
I'll make a motion to approve the claim docket for the October 2029 claims.
I have a motion on claims. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and second. Further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0. Old business, we have none. New business, annual TIF districts presentation, Baker Tilly, Andy, and you do know it to be short, correct?
I will do my very best.
Thank you, Andy. You're on stage.
All right. Well, thank you very much. And I will put some extra copies up here for any members of the public that would like to grab one. You should have a couple of items here. One would be a TIF presentation, and much like previous years, I've also passed out a bound copy of our formal TIF report. The report and presentation are a lot of the same information. I will just go through the presentation here this evening and try to go through it as quickly as we can. Certainly be respectful of your time. But at the same time, I know your areas have grown both in number and in complexity in the last few years, so I want to make sure we go through this and at least give it the time it does deserve. So this is both an annual requirement to hold this meeting and present this information to members of the public and the overlapping taxing units. And then also this is really the best planning document we have as the Redevelopment Commission, as the city considers new projects throughout the year. This is really kind of our best snapshot of what you have available as far as TIF revenues and other Redevelopment Commission revenues to go after those projects. So I know we have familiar faces on the Redevelopment Commission. I won't go through the first few slides in a lot of detail. Would maybe just start with the third slide, which shows kind of the outline of TIF areas and how the relationship of your economic development area and allocation area works. Just a reminder, you do have a single consolidated economic development area, which gives you flexibility to spend TIF dollars anywhere within that consolidated EDA, but then you do have a number of different TIF allocation areas and where the dollars come from. And those areas have been set up over the last several decades and have their own individual lifespans. Slide 4 does show just kind of the history of how a TIF area works. When a TIF area is created, that base assessed value is established, and then as the area grows, the green box on that page, the incremental assessed value, represents what is captured. And then the goal is to get that assessed value back to the tax base. So you have a number of TIF areas that are brand new at the very front of their lifespan. 39 North and Boyd Boulevard are two TIF areas that are just created and not yet capturing. And then your Eastgate TIF area will be your first expiration, and that one will expire in 2035, so about 10 years from today. Slide 5, just a history of TIF area lifespans. You do have a mix of what were known as legacy TIF areas, pre-1995 TIF areas. Also, you have a mix of 30 and 25-year life areas. So we'll go through that briefly on each of your TIF areas and when those expirations occur in the future. So first part we'll go through is the central business TIF area. On slide 7, have a little bit of history of your central business TIF. It was originally set up in 1990, and then also has an expansion that was established in 2005. Those two components will expire in 2035 and in 2040, respectively. Between these two portions of the central business TIF and then what's known as allocation area 3, or the hospital, and then allocation area 4, which is the Flaherty and Collins apartment project in Newport Landing, you currently bring in about $1.1 million per year. So in 2024, brought in just shy of $1.1 million. In 2025, should be right around $1.1 million again, and actually are about 56% for your mid-year collection, so right in line with those expectations. And then we do expect some growth in 2026. Those values were just certified by the county here a couple months ago. So about $793,000 from these two portions of the area, and then including the hospital and Flaherty and Collins, we'd estimate about $1.2 million, so some growth next year. And just to give you a little bit of history, in 2022, that was the first year that the old hospital went away and came out of the central business TIF. In that year, you captured just under $900,000. So from 2022, you've gone from about $900,000 a year to 2026, you should be at about $1.2 million. So continue to see that area grow, which is great here over the last few years. Also within the central business TIF, you do have the hospital allocation area. We give some history on that on slide 8. You're currently capturing very minimal TIF from the hospital itself, and that's simply due to the fact that the hospital receives the enterprise zone deduction, which is 100% deduction for a 10-year period. During that life, or during the life of the deduction, there is a fee that's charged, and a portion of that's distributed back to the Redevelopment Commission. But once those deductions go away, you will start to capture both the hospital and then also the medical office building on the campus as well. So you can see only bringing in about $30,000 currently in the form of TIF, but those enterprise zone fees that are collected and distributed back to Redevelopment Commission exceed $400,000 per year. And then the fourth piece of the central business TIF is the F&C allocation area, again, the Flaherty and Collins apartment project. They currently pay right around $357,000 a year in taxes. When that project was done and financing was put into place several years ago, they did commit to a minimum payment on that project of $440,000 a year. So even though it's only generating the $357,000 in TIF, they've continued to make payments to ensure that you're receiving the full $440,000 per year. And we would expect that would continue on into the future. Next slide just outlines some additional projects. I'll go through here in this presentation your existing debt commitments, but then obviously you have other projects you continue to do on a pay-as-you-go basis, and those are outlined here on slide 10, really for the next 3 to 4 year period. Next part of the TIF area is what was originally your Thomas Rose Industrial Park allocation area. It actually has three pieces, which you'll see on slide 12. You've got a piece that was set up in 1991, and then expansions in 2005 and 2013. So this area will expire gradually over a 5-year period. You've got a piece that will drop off in 2035, a piece in 2038, and then a piece in 2040 as well. And much like your downtown, the central business, the Thomas Rose has seen pretty substantial growth over the past few years. 2019 was actually the last year this area brought in less than $1 million. You were right at $999,000 in 2019. You'll see in 2024 you brought in a little over $1.6 million. You should be right around the $1.6 million in 2025, and are actually at about 54% collections through your spring distribution, so right in line. And then we do anticipate some growth in 2026, so you'll be right around $1,670,000. So that area, again, much like the central business, continues to grow, and certainly we would anticipate that that would continue in the future as well. Again, on slide 13, we do outline just some additional projects contemplated from the Thomas Rose TIF in the future. The most notable one there would be infrastructure improvements for 39 North, and we would anticipate that that would be done through a financing that would be payable from available TIF revenues. Next section goes through your Eastgate TIF area, and that consists of the American Signature manufacturing facility on the east side of town. A 30-year area there that was set up in 2004, so will expire in 2034. And again, that will be your first expiration of your existing 4 TIF areas. This area has been very consistent. You've brought in about $300,000 per year, although there has been some fluctuations in just the timing of their tax payments. So their spring payment, or excuse me, their fall payment actually last year was paid late. You received that in the spring. Their spring payment was paid late, although we did confirm it has been made. So we are hopeful that your December distribution will include what you didn't receive in the spring, and then their November tax payment as well. So we'll continue to keep an eye on that area, but it's been very consistent around that $300,000 going back a number of years. Again, on slide 16, some additional contemplated projects there. And then the last area, as far as your existing TIF areas that are producing, would be the Town Square TIF. This is also a 30-year TIF area, was set up in 2006, so will expire in 2036. Has been very consistent the last couple of years, right around $120,000 to $130,000 per year. You brought in just over $130,000 in 2024. You're right at $57,000 for the half year in 2025. And then we would anticipate that it would stay pretty consistent at about $125,000 in 2026 as well. And then behind that, we have some information on your 2 newest TIF allocation areas. The first one being 39 North. You'll see that on slide 21. It was set up in May of last year, May of 2024, so will expire with a 25-year life in 2049. And we do not anticipate any TIF in 2025, but as development starts to occur within 39 North, we would anticipate that would grow in the future. And we mentioned the infrastructure improvements to be made in 39 North that will hopefully spur additional development, and that additional development will be captured. And this and Boyd Boulevard are both areas that, as some of your existing areas start to expire here in the next few years, these are TIF areas that should be growing at that same time, that will start to replenish those TIF areas as they expire and are returned to the tax base going forward. So same thing for Boyd Boulevard. On slide 23, you'll see, again, that was also established in May of last year, will expire in 2049. No TIF for 2025, but we would anticipate that that would grow in the future, and that will include the Microsoft Data Center project. So you will capture the real property improvements there going forward. Next couple slides, look at your outstanding debt obligations. You do have 5 bond issues that are outstanding, payable from your TIF revenues. You've got the 2015 A bonds that funded various infrastructure in the Thomas Rose area. Those will be repaid through 2036. You've got the 2015 B bonds that funded infrastructure both in Thomas Rose and in the central business area. Those will be repaid through 2040. You have the 2020 Newport Landing project, so that was the bonds that funded the infrastructure for the Flaherty and Collins project. Those will be repaid through 2045. And because those were issued in 2020, kind of during the height of the COVID pandemic, interest rates were at historical lows at that point. That was actually a taxable bond. And your interest rates range from 1.1 to 2.6% on that financing. If we were to issue a taxable bond currently, you'd likely be in the 5 to 6% range. So pretty remarkable interest rates you have on that outstanding debt that was issued in 2020 for that project. And then very similar for the 2021 Newport Landing remediation bonds. Those were also a taxable financing. They're currently at a 2.4%, so not quite as good as what you had on the 2020 bonds, but still very competitive. And like I said, a taxable financing likely be in that 5 to 6% range if you were to issue today. And then the last obligation outstanding is your 2024 bonds that funded improvements to Boyd Boulevard and Park Street. Those will be outstanding through 2047. And then the next slide, a lot of information on there. I may actually have you turn to what would be page 20 in your TIF report. A little bit easier to see the information in that TIF report. But this does outline kind of all the TIF collections that we just went through, and then your projections for future years as well. I would note that this does include impacts anticipated within the TIF areas for Senate Bill 1. So many of you are familiar with Senate Bill 1 that was passed at the State House this year. It does provide additional deductions for the majority of property in the state, and primarily 1% and 2% properties, because your TIF areas do include apartments, some agricultural land, things like that. We do anticipate some impact to your TIF areas, but as you'll see on page 20 of the report, we would anticipate that those impacts would be pretty minimal. So this outlines, again, your central business TIF, the enterprise zone fees you're receiving from the hospital, the hospital TIF that we anticipate in the future as those enterprise zone fees roll off, your Thomas Rose TIF, the Flaherty and Collins TIF, your Eastgate, and then your Town Square area. So you'll see altogether, between those TIF areas, you bring in about $3.6 million per year. And that should increase in the future as the hospital, again, those enterprise zone deductions roll off and the hospital starts to generate TIF. We would anticipate in the early 2030s that your TIF collections would increase from about $3.6 million to just under $5 million a year. At the same time, you'll see your outstanding obligations. Those remain pretty much fixed at about $2.2 million through 2035. And then 2036, as your TIF areas start to begin to expire, at that same time, your debt obligations also start to roll off at that point. So on the very right side of that page, you will see currently leaves you about $1.5 million, $1.6 million per year for additional projects. And then we would anticipate that that amount would grow here in the next few years, again, mainly due from the growth in TIF from the hospital. On the next page, on page 21, we did include kind of an illustrative scenario that includes your existing TIF, but then also does include some illustrations for both the data center TIF from the Boyd Boulevard area, and then also for additional development that could occur within 39 North. So again, we would hope that those amounts would continue to increase in the future as additional development occurs, but you'll see that those increases from future TIF start to replace what's being lost from your expiring TIF areas and gives you additional funds to work for additional projects in the future. And then just flipping back to the presentation, the last few slides, the last part of the annual requirement that we do have to go through is an impact of your TIF areas on the overlapping taxing units. We show that impact on slides 29, 30, and 31. I won't go through those in a ton of detail, but really what this shows is really the existing tax situation for 3 taxing districts. That's LaPorte Center Township, LaPorte Kankakee Township, and then the portion of LaPorte Kankakee Township that overlaps New Prairie Schools. And on those 3 pages, it shows your total TIF. So you currently capture about $114 million of assessed value. That $114 million of assessed value generates about $3.3 million in annual dollars. On these schedules, we show the impact if you were to give up $500,000 of that 3.3 that you currently bring in. So if you were to take 16 million of assessed value, put it back in the tax base, and forego that 500,000 you're currently bringing in of that 3.3 million. The actual impact that this would have would be a very slight reduction in tax rates. So you can see about a 3-cent reduction in total tax rates among the various taxing units. And that 500,000 that you would give up in TIF dollars would actually only increase local government collections by about 14,000, 8 of which would be direct revenue to the city. So from the city's perspective, you know, TIF is the best way to continue to capture additional growth. Again, $500,000 by capturing the growth compared to about 8,000 in additional revenue if you weren't able to capture the dollars through the TIF area. And then TIF is the tool that you have to continue to reinvest in infrastructure and then encourage new growth within the city as well. And I think your previous projects we went through, you know, going back to your 2015 bonds, really demonstrate those investments you've made and then the growth they've helped drive, especially within the central business, Newport Landing, and Thomas Rose areas. So that's the presentation. I'd be glad to answer any questions, or I know a lot is changing with your TIF areas going forward, especially with Senate Bill 1, but I'm glad to answer any questions you might have on that piece as well.
Thank you, Andy.
Appreciate the time. Do my best. Thank you.
Thanks, Andy.
Okay. We don't have to do anything with that, do we? Resolution concerning the transfer of real estate from the City of LaPorte to the Redevelopment Commission. You want that? Or Bert, or who?
So this is a resolution that is going to be, you know, considered and perhaps adopted by both the City Council and Board of Works as well as you all. And it relates to the transfer of property for no consideration from the City of LaPorte to the Redevelopment Commission for development purposes. Specifically, there's two projects that this resolution relates to, and that's Beechwood Lakes and then a potential development out in Newport Landing. So that's what we're just approving, that we would accept the land from the city.
So I need somebody to read it, the
Yeah,
resolution.
that's what we need it.
Oh, boy.
It's only one page.
So just this page here, right?
Just the first page. You don't need to read the legal description, correct?
Okay.
Ought to break there, JT.
All right. Resolution of the City LaPorte Redevelopment Commission concerning the transfer of real estate from the City of LaPorte to the City of LaPorte Redevelopment Commission. Whereas Indiana Code 36-1-11-8 authorizes the transfer or exchange of real estate between governmental entities upon terms and conditions as may be agreed upon by the entities and as evidenced by the adoption of a substantially identical resolution by each entity, and whereas the City of LaPorte, the city, owns certain real estate identified as parcel numbers 46, 11, 06, 300, 017.000-058, 46-11-06-300-015, .000-058 and 46-11-06-300-016.000-058 as described on Exhibit A, which are desirable to the city for growth and development, and whereas the city also owns certain real estate identified as parcel number 46-06-260-380-001.000-043 as described on Exhibit B, which is also desirable to the city for growth and development, and whereas the City of LaPorte Redevelopment Commission, the commission, is established pursuant to the Indiana Code 36-7-14 for for purposes of economic development and redevelopment of the city. And whereas the city and commission are both governmental entities authorized to own, acquire, transfer, and lease real estate. And whereas, in order to further the economic development and redevelopment purposes of the city and commission, the city desires to transfer the real estate to the commission, and the commission desires to accept the real estate from the city in order to permit the commission to utilize or transfer the real estate consistent with its authority under Indiana law. Keep going? All right.
You can take a break, but that's all right.
I need a drink. Now therefore, be it resolved by the City of LaPorte Redevelopment Commission as follows. The commission hereby agrees to accept a conveyance from the city of the real estate described on Exhibits A and B to the commission without cost, which real estate may be owned, maintained, or transferred by the commission under such terms and conditions and pursuant to such procedures as are authorized Indiana Code 36-7-14 et sec. And other applicable laws governing the commission. 2, the commission hereby authorizes the president of the commission to execute such conveyance documents or materials as may be necessary and appropriate for the transfer of real estate to the commission, and may approve any and all documents necessary or appropriate to effectuate the transfer of the real estate to the commission. 3, this resolution is effective immediately upon its passage, adopted the day of
Today.
the 29th of October, 2025.
Good job, JT. I'm proud of you. Okay, so this is a petition, a resolution, so it should be passed tonight. I need a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution concerning the transfer of real estate from the city of LaPorte to the commission.
Now, could you read the other 6 pages of the? No, no. I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Further discussion? Any? Any discussion? No? Hearing none? All in favor, state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0. Thank you, JT. Okay, request for approval of contract with SEH for Clear Lake Parking and Trail Projects. Mr. Phillips.
Yes, so this is a request for approval of contract with SEH, primarily having to do with the engineering and design related to the Clear Lake area parking lot that's adjacent to the planned Pin Fusion project. I think you're all familiar with the general location along Dunes, next to Dunes, and in the vicinity of the Dunes Volleyball Center, for the purposes of providing parking for both of those facilities and the use of the trails and that sort of thing in the area, as well as some additional design related to the connector trails to connect from that parking lot to our other trail areas, as well as the Holacker Drive area. So it's pretty simple and straightforward. It would have been done as part of a project that was anticipated to receive a grant, but that grant has been delayed. But in order to keep the commitments that we have with regard to the Pin Fusion project and the design related to that moving, we're requesting that the Redevelopment Commission pay for these for this design and the work related to that. It's a cost not to exceed $112,000, and based on the cost of the overall parking lot project, that's a reasonable amount as a percentage of the project. And other than that, I am happy to answer any other questions you have.
I think this money was encumbered, wasn't it?
I
I think we did that last year for the parking lot.
believe so, yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
So
for
we
the
have the
construction of
money,
the parking
bottom
lot,
line.
yeah.
Any questions for Mr. Phillips?
I'll make a motion to request for approval of contract with SEH for Clear Lake Parking and Trail Projects.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
I will second.
Second, further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0. Other business. Do we have any other business? Mr. Cook, do you have anything good to say today? I do not, thank you. That's unbelievable. That is a compliment. It is a compliment. Okay, Damon.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Motion second. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, state by saying aye.
Aye.
5-0 passes. We are adjourned. Thank you.